Hey, what's up?
Hey, I'm reading this book, but I don't know anything about the author.
Who is it?
This guy named Willem Shakespeare.
Oh, William Shakespeare, also known as Willie the Shake. I know all about him. I'll tell you about him. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, Shakespeare was born April 23rd, 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon. He was a poet, dramatist, actor, and he was an English national poet and a member of the Lord Chamberlain's Men. Other poets, like Homer and Dante, and novelists, like Leo Tolstoy and Charles Dickens, have gone beyond national barriers, but no writer's living reputation can compare to Shakespeare's, whose plays, written in the late 16th and 17th centuries for a small theater, are now performed and read more often in more countries than ever before. According to Shakespeare.net, he made his first appearance in 1592. He built the Globe Theatre in 1599 and retired from public life in 1610. According to Folger, he invested heavily in real estate in Stratford and bought the second largest home in the town. According to Poets.net, Shakespeare invented thousands of words. Some of these words include birthplace, bloodsucking, zany, and downstairs.
The main characters in this specific Shakespearean work are the twins Antipholus of Ephesus and Antipholus of Syracuse, respectively. Both were born in Epidamnum in an inn. At the same time, in the same inn, two other identical twins were being born to a much less wealthy couple. The Antipholus twins' father, Egeon, bought the twins from the poor couple and raised them as slaves for his sons. Their names are Dromio of Ephesus and Dromio of Syracuse, respectively. On the way back home, however, both sets of twins get separated by shipwreck. Two with Amelia, their mother, who was picked up by an Epidaurian ship and carried away to Epidaurus, while the father and the other pair were picked up by a Corinthian ship and brought back to Corinth.
Years later, Egeon is faced with the death sentence after illegally crossing the border from Syracuse to Ephesus. Antipholus and Dromio of Syracuse coincidentally are also in Ephesus, but not getting caught begin to conduct their business of finding their lost brothers, whom their father told them about long ago.
When they are in Ephesus, the other set of twins are also there because, for the other set of twins, this is their home.
The fact that both sets of identical twins are in the same city, Syracusan twins' presence, unbeknownst to the Ephesian doubles, is problematic to say the least.
They first get mixed up when Antipholus of Syracuse is approached by Dromio of Ephesus. He says that his wife, who is actually Antipholus of Ephesus' wife, Adriana, wants him home for dinner. The whole mix-up spirals out of control to the point that Adriana accuses Antipholus of Syracuse of sleeping around, thinking it is her husband, when in actuality, Antipholus of Ephesus was out buying a gold necklace from Angelo the goldsmith for his wife. Antipholus of Syracuse, now wanting to leave this wretched city because of mistaken identity, claims that he does not know who she is, which makes her only more furious. She insists on dragging him home to eat and reconcile their marriage differences, and when there, she instructs Dromio of Ephesus, who also thinks Antipholus of Syracuse is Antipholus of Ephesus, to guard the door and let no one in.
Antipholus of Ephesus then returns from the marketplace, where he recently purchased a necklace for his wife. He is disallowed entrance into his own home, and being called a witch, he leaves furiously. He then asks Angelo the goldsmith to go and fetch his gold chain that he recently bought, and then he'll give it to the courtesan, the prostitute for the upper class, at her own house, when he dines with her instead, after being denied to dine with his wife. Confusing yet? Don't worry, it gets better.
Meanwhile, Luciana, Adriana's sister, and Antipholus of Syracuse are now alone in the house of Antipholus of Ephesus. She rebukes him for being dishonest to Adriana, but he denies ever knowing either of them. He then goes on to profess his love for her, and, suddenly scared, she flees to find her sister. We will be acting out a part from Act 3, Scene 2. This scene is smack dab in the middle of all the confusion, where Antipholus of Syracuse runs into Dromio of Syracuse, who just came from a miscounter with Nell, also known as Luce. She is a kitchen maid for Antipholus of Ephesus, and has mistaken Dromio of Syracuse for Dromio of Ephesus. Antipholus of Ephesus' slave, and her husband. The two converse and discuss the physical appearance of her using geological terms.
What's her name?
Nell, but an L and 3/4 wouldn't be long enough to measure her waist.
Oh, then she bears some girth.
She is as wide as she is tall. She is round, like a globe. I could use her like a map to find out where countries are.
In what part of her body stands Ireland?
It's her bottom, near the box.
Where's Scotland?
In the palm of her hand, which is covered in calluses.
Where France?
In her forehead, which is enormous because of her receding hairline.
Where England?
I thought her teeth might be like the white cliffs, but they're dark and stained. So I guess it's her chin, just separated from her forehead with all the sweat on her face.
Where's Spain?
Honestly, I didn't see it, but I felt it in her hot breath.
Where America? The Indies.
Oh, sir, it's on her nose, which is full of pimples, sores, and red welts. Straight down from it is her mouth, which catches everything that falls from it.
Where is the Belgium? The Netherlands.
Oh, sir, I didn't look there.
What follows after this scene are occurrences that you would all expect from the show from now on. Many errors and mistaken identities continue, as Antipholus of Ephesus is arrested for neglecting to pay for an object he ordered. A necklace, gold-plated and made for his wife, Adriana, who has locked him out of the house because she is having dinner with Antipholus of Syracuse, who she believes to be her husband. Antipholus of Ephesus is arrested, for he claimed he did not receive a necklace, when in fact his twin, Antipholus of Syracuse, did. Dromio of Syracuse approaches Antipholus of Ephesus and, mistaking him for his master, comments that the ships are ready to sail so they can leave Ephesus. Antipholus of Ephesus, again furious, sends him away to find Adriana in order to pay his way out of jail. During this fiasco, Antipholus of Syracuse is adrift about the city, recalling how everyone has been so unmistakably nice to him, which is ironic, given that he is being mistaken for his twin. Dromio of Syracuse then dashes up to him and hands him the payment for jail, assuming he is the imprisoned Antipholus. Antipholus of Syracuse denies this and asks Dromio if their way out of town is ready. Many more mistakes or errors follow and lead up to the final scene, where swords are drawn over cheated, mistaken gold, and hearts are broken over cheated, mistaken love. The abbess, a new character as of late, takes Antipholus of Syracuse and Dromio of Syracuse and reunites them with their long-lost brothers. The abbess is then revealed to be the Antipholus twins' mother and Aegion's lost loyal wife, Aemilia. They embrace, while the others settle mistaken differences, and all becomes well in the city of Ephesus once again. This is a play about identity. This play has many themes, some of which are derived from the simple mistaken identity idea portrayed in the events occurring in the work. Act 1, Scene 1, Aegion's story of his family's troubles lays the foundation for the play's confusion of identities. It also highlights the need for intimate relationships as central to a sense of personal identity. Both sets of twins are confused with the other set, leaving them to confuse themselves and question who they actually are. However, in the beginning of the novel, this wasn't always the case. Antipholus of Syracuse believes that a piece of his identity lies within his brother, whom he has come to Ephesus to find. He doesn't know who he is and he's hoping that finding his other half could change that. Antipholus of Ephesus, on the other hand, being a high-class merchant in the city of Ephesus, knows exactly who he is and what he's about. Throughout the play, identity is questioned and changed frequently with this mistaken identity, which can be even witnessed from the word errors laid in the title of the Shakespearean work. Other themes also include marriage and family. This work represents the fulfillment of being united or reunited with family, as the ending is a happy one. It shows the brothers lost in their own minds, each for different reasons, until they are reunited at the very end. Marriage also plays a decently significant role in the play. The somewhat unstable marriage between Antipholus of Ephesus and Adriana rivals that of the loyal and long-lost relationship of Evgion and Amelia, loving parents of the Antipholus twins. The hilarious relationship between Nell and Dromio of Ephesus represents the changes in a marriage that can happen and will happen. Marriage is about love, but as shown in this short, can also be the grunt of day-to-day arguing and disagreements.
According to E-Notes, there are many different professional opinions about this play. The play revolves around mistaken identity. Shakespeare made the play more romantic to appeal to a wider audience. Many critics say that this play doesn't give an indication of Shakespeare's mature achievements. Many critics mark this by the interpretation of gender issues. We like this play for many reasons. The first is that because it wasn't very long. Because it wasn't very long, there was always something happening and there was never a dull moment. We also like this play because there are many funny moments. It is hard to compare this to Shakespeare's other works. Most of his plays are dark, like Titus Andromachus, or heroic, like Julius Caesar. But Comedy of Errors is just that, a comedy.